Hristos a înviat, fraților. Vreau să vă arăt acest videoclip postat de Anonymus și are câteva date foarte interesante care se potrivesc cu anul 2025. Vizionare plăcută.
If this was predicted 27 years ago, somebody knew something. Now, this is the title of the book, 2025, Scenarios of U.S. and Global Society Reshaped, there's that re again, by Science and Technology. You know what's so fascinating about this? It was published 27 years ago in the year 1997, and it was funded, well funded, by a Washington, D.C. think tank and three-letter government agencies. But here's the thing, 1997, 27 years ago? And they write a book about a 502-page book about what the world's going to be. Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating viral disease pandemics, genetically developed vaccines, smart IDs, 1997, and this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted, not 2025, but by 2020, that people would be working from home virtually. Come on, listen, that's World War III, of course. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices, this stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. Vaccination programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global killer that has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997.
Today's sponsor, Cloaked, challenged us to put our phone number into their tool. The results were shocking. It knew our name, address, even social security number. Data brokers are making billions selling your information to spammers, scammers, hackers, even stalkers. Every time you sign up for something, an app, a free trial, a random website, you're feeding the machine, and they're betting you won't do anything about it. But here's the real problem. Most so-called privacy services, they clean things up after your data is already out there. Meanwhile, you keep creating new vulnerabilities every single time you enter your real email, phone number, or name online. That's the loop. That's where Cloaked comes in. Cloaked doesn't just go out and remove your data from shady broker sites, it also stops the problem at the source. Inside the app, you can generate unlimited burner emails, usernames, and phone numbers whenever you sign up for anything. You can even call, text, and email directly through those burners. Then, data brokers can't tie anything back to you. Not only is your identity protected, but the data they're buying becomes completely useless. Cloaked also goes way further than that. It monitors the dark web and alerts you if your info gets exposed. It has a built-in VPN and password manager, AI-powered spam call filtering. And they even back it all up with a $1 million identity theft insurance policy. If you're ready to take it all back and protect yourself, head to cloaked.com/anonymous and try it today. The link is in the description.
I want to now share with you some of the insights that these guys had way back in the mid-90s. Again, this is a well-connected think tank in DC. They are funded and engaged with the wealthy corporations, the ruling class, the National Security Agency. And in 1997, they published this book, creatively titled 2025. And check this out. In the acknowledgments we read, our first thank you is to the sponsors, the people, and the organizations who made possible the original Project 2025 from which this book was created. What did they call it? It was called Project 2025. This book was published in 1997. 10 things to expect if this Project 2025 from the mid-90s turns out to be correct about the remaining items that have not yet transpired. And before I list them, I want to remind us, these are not just, throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, it's like 90% track record here. And they may not be right about all these either, but here we go.
Now brace yourselves, because if what you're about to hear ever becomes reality, things could get very ugly. Let's hope they got this part wrong. But listen to this.
They said we will have World War III, a nuclear device causing widespread contamination, additional epidemics, cyber attacks, or in their world, computer-based socially significant crime, such as tampering with air traffic control or national security systems, a global currency, mass starvation. Now that, in and of itself, that's pretty heavy that we just considered, but given, again, the track record, and how the things that they're announcing here, you also hear announced by the likes of Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and Jesuit Tide. We're going to see some pretty interesting stuff as we go forward, but we're just on Project 2025 from the 90s right now. Let's look first at the mass starvation. I was mentioning Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, WEF. He stated, we're going to have an angrier world. In the context of food and energy scarcity, we are going to have an angrier world. Those are his words. And so when he talks about an angrier world, and in the same interview, Klaus says that this angrier world will be because of economic conditions, and that's why I see the need for a great reset. In fact, roll that clip right now, please.
We have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
There is a Obama-produced film, a movie, that came out called Leave the World Behind. Why did the Obamas get behind this film? The film, I won't be able to tell you that, but I can tell you what the film is about. It's about an apocalyptic scenario after the grid fails and there's a grid down crisis because of cyber attacks. And this comes out, again, right before 2025. And then you go back to 2014 with the release of a video game, which also has scripts like movies do. And this Black Ops 2, major prominent video game, the script writers for it were consulting with that the Wall Street Journal calls the premier futurist in the national security space. So the top Pentagon futurist was consulted for the script on this video game. And what is the script for the video game? Well, the object of the game is to prevent a cyber attack in the context of a new Cold War with China. And guess what year this video game is set? And again, this came out in 2014, and the video game is set in 2025. So we're starting to see kind of a pattern here, are we not? We look at World War III, and we look at their predictions that a nuclear device causing widespread contamination will take place. This might sound outlandish, but keep in mind that since 1945, with the invention and using of the first atomic bomb, there have been, in Cold War history, 16 near-miss nuclear events. And historians and national security experts estimate that about 1%, you have about a 1% chance in any given year of having a nuclear exchange. A 1% chance, then over a 100-year period of time, you'd expect it once. If you get halfway through that, you feel like, we're living on borrowed time. Well, we're like 80% of the way through a 100-year period of time since 1945. So it's hard to expect the unexpected. It's hard to foresee that which our normalcy bias doesn't allow us to see as potentials. We lose imagination because we see only the thing immediately in front of us. But this is something that the Project 2025 futurists are saying to expect. And again, we see war, epidemics, starvation. Let's do it in the proper order from the Bible again. War, starvation, epidemics. Those are 3 of the 6 that are up there from that pale horse. Now the last 4 predictions that they make here, we got 10 things to expect if they're correct. Universal monitoring of business transactions. Smart ID cards. Now watch this. This gets even more interesting. Smart ID cards, including your religious and or organizational affiliations and perhaps with your genomic data. I had to take a picture of that segment out of the book, put it on the screen so you can read it for yourself. Identification cards will be universal. Smart cards will contain information such as nationality, medical history, perhaps even key data from one's genome, education and employment records, financial accounts, social security, credit status, and even religious and organizational affiliations. The 9th one kind of sounds innocuous and not that big of a deal. It's just Social Security will be based on need only. The technical term for that is means testing for transfer payments or other forms of welfare. Means testing meaning only those who need it will get it, and they're making a prediction that will be the case with Social Security. Some people might be a little have their feathers ruffled by that notion, but I'm not meaning to get into the economic political debates about that. I want to bring this out because if they will means test it, then they will also be willing to take the next step, and that is ideological testing. Happened with the truckers in Canada. Bank accounts frozen. The targeted group, anybody who is the other, who is the demonized group of the day, can have now the precedent has been set in the West to be debanked, to have payment processors taken, to be prohibited from platforms that are kind of in that woke ideology at the moment. And so the fact that they're saying, well, you're not going to get your check unless you need it, that can step right next to the next stop on that journey toward tyranny. You're not going to get your food, you're not going to be provided for in a context of scarcity and famine. This kind of leads right into another one while we're on number 9 about the Deagle Corporation. This was a major intelligence outfit that they were cited by and utilized by Stratfor, which is probably the biggest global intelligence corporation there is. And Stratfor cites Deagle, so they're a major player in intelligence developing and publishing. And they made a prediction that by 2025 there would be a reduction, look in the red, of population in America from 327 million to 100 million, and GDP would drop from 60,000 per person to 24,000 per person. Now, this is not to say that this will happen, but that's quite an alarming prediction to make. Why would you go out and say that? Well, it's in the context of here, what we were talking about, it's mass starvation and global currency and major war and epidemics and cyber attacks. This is where you see massive population reductions and economic collapse. But I love their little disclaimer here. They first, this isn't the disclaimer, that'll be on the next slide, but first they say this: the collapse of the Western financial system will wipe out the standard of living of its population while ending Ponzi schemes such as the stock exchange and the pension funds. Take into account that the forecast that they've made here is nothing more than a model, whether flawed or correct. Okay, here's their disclaimer. It's not God's word. This is not God's word. This is not a magical device that allows us to see the future. Now, if you're planning the future and announcing what you're going to do ahead of time, then that's not a prediction. But these guys are just making predictions, and they're saying, you know what, this is flawed. This could not transpire as badly as we're seeing it, which makes me feel happy about that situation, about a population reduction of that magnitude and economic collapse. But whether it's going to happen or not isn't even so much the question as when.
The Order is truly a secret society. It was founded in the United States at Yale University in 1833. It has continued and exists down to the present day. Each year, the Order takes in 15 men, senior students from Yale University. Never more than 15. Only once has it been less than 15. In 1946, they took in, I think, 10 rather than 15 members. So what we have is a secret society which, over the last 150 years, has accumulated about 2,500 members, of whom perhaps 500 are alive today. Of this 500, perhaps 100 are actively in pursuit of the objectives of the Order. It's not another college fraternal society. Yale University is the only university in the United States, or indeed the world, which has senior societies. These are societies where the 15 are selected in the junior year and actually are initiated at the beginning of the senior year. They stay on campus only 1 year as members. They are called knights. When they graduate, they leave the university, they go out into the world, then they're known as patriarchs. So at any one time, you only have 15 knights in existence, and for the rest of their lives, they're known as patriarchs. And they work during their lifetime, or a number do, towards the ends of the Order. They are pretty much guaranteed success. Certainly they're guaranteed financial success. And in my reading of the material I have, I infer that so long as they go along with the purposes of the Order, so long as they gear their careers and their lives towards certain ends, then they are guaranteed success. Well, up to 6 months ago, I denied that there was a conspiracy, because, frankly, I couldn't prove one. I suspected a conspiracy, but I couldn't prove there was one until 6 months ago. Well, a little before 6 months ago. I received the catalog, which is the membership list of the society, all the way back to 1833. And I received some of their internal documents, enough for me to put together the way they correspond with each other, the operations within the Order. To some extent, their problems. We know what the temple looks like because back in 1880s, a number of Yale students became a little unhappy about what was going on inside this temple. When they went by it at midnight, sometimes they heard strange noises. and all kinds of rumors on the Yale campus as to what this might be. There was a break-in. I call it the Yale Gate. There was a break-in to the temple, and the students who broke in cataloged what they found.
This is where it gets weird, because you know how these stories usually go, right? It's always people say, or some believe, but he's claiming something more specific. He's saying there was a moment, way back, where the secrecy cracked. Students broke in, and according to him, they left with documentation. And what they found inside had numbers on the walls.
And they made a drawing, a design of the interior of the temple. And 3 of the rooms are numbered. One is 322, one is 323, and one is 324. 322 is also, I suspect, the chapter number. 322 is an identification. Also in correspondence between members, they conclude their correspondence, where you and I would conclude yours truly or yours sincerely. They conclude yours in 322.